Hello and welcome to the Inside Stylist podcast, where we talk all about interiors, from interviews with interior stylists, writers and the up-and-coming interiors brands we all want to hear about and feature. There's so much to talk about. I'm your host, Emma Morton-Turner. Enjoy the show. Hi guys. So today is a solo episode. I've kind of picked up on things that people say to me quite a lot, and if 2 or 3 people ask me the same thing, I think it's going to be relevant to everybody. Today's topic is rate cards, because I've had 3 people individually come up to me and say, how do you do a rate card? Or I'm really interested in it. So I thought what I'd do is just share with you what I do. I'm not saying this is the best way, the right way. I just think it has made my life so much easier, because when anyone asks me for what my day rate is, originally I would just say, well, I charge X amount for shooting and I charge X amount for prep, and it would be like one line on an email, and it just didn't really feel like it didn't have enough emphasis on what you were getting for those rates. So I put together, I call it a rate card. It's kind of like a blogger's version of a media kit, really. And it's just sharing all the information, all the experience, all the wealth of knowledge that I've gained over the years to kind of prove that this is why I charge these prices and this is why I'm worth it. So I've literally just got my rate card up on my screen, and I thought I would just run through with you. Now, I have written a blog post on this so you can go and look at what I'm talking about, but I'm just going to describe it. This is going to be a nice short episode, because I think it's going to be something that you want to take action on. It's not going to be something you want to listen to me talking about for ages and ages. So I'm going to run through what I have done and what has worked for me, and then you can just decide whether it's going to work for you too. Also, I'm not going to mention prices because you mustn't be seen as price fixing. It's like illegal. So I'm just going to say X amount sort of thing. And any images that I put up of my rate card, I will just put 00 or XX or something where the prices are, and then you can just make up your own mind. I am going to talk about what to charge as well. So the rate card. It's actually quite ironic. I'm going to share this with you and be very embarrassed about it. But looking at my rate card when I went to write this blog post originally, I realised that my rate card at the very top just says Emma MT in massive letters. It doesn't say interior stylist, writer, podcaster, blogger. It doesn't say what I actually do. Now, obviously, anyone who's asking me for a rate card knows what I do, but fatal flaw in my own plan. So I will be amending that before I show you. Well, maybe I'll show you the before and the after. First thing you need to put on your rate card is who you are and what you do. So I've obviously got this big Emma MT, and then I've just got like a hello, I'm Emma MT. I'm an interior stylist. I've been doing it for 18 years. And then I just go into the kind of things that I do. I think it's really good to share the kind of work that you do, that you like to do. Because, for example, I might just be seen as shooting real homes, but actually I like to do craft shoots and decorating shoots as well. And someone who's booking you might not realise you do those other things, but also they might have needs down the line. And once they've realised that you have all these other abilities and experiences, it just opens up your world a little, I think. So really important to share what you do and what you enjoy doing. I think it's good to make it quite personal. I make it kind of how you write for a magazine. It's quite chatty. I make it very chatty. It doesn't need to be a formal document. I mean, obviously we're talking money and it's kind of a serious topic, but I think it's really good to bring your personality out. Hence I put Emma MT, not Emma Morton-Turner. I had to remember to put that at the bottom. And the next section is who you've worked for. So put everybody, whether that is commercial, editorial, whether it's working on blogs, whether you're doing copywriting or styling for an interior designer wants you to come and design their window, anything you've done, put that in there, because you never know what's going to click with someone it just resonates with a job that they've got lined up. I do this I've got 1 line for magazines and I've got 2 lines for commercial, because I think I tend to do more commercial than editorial work. So I kind of emphasise that side of it. I have weight to the commercial side. Really, this is going to be sent out digitally. I have been researching this quite a bit, and nearly every time I put in rate card, it comes up with freelance writers cards. And quite often it will say, share your social media contacts. So if you have an engaged social media, which, I mean, I'm finding people are getting more involved with social media, and there is influencer work coming through as well as editorial and digital features. So if you've got a digital product, you're making this rate card digitally, you can link through. So you can literally download images of Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever you're most engaged on. And you can then link it right through to your actual account. Now, if you were doing something for a blog, then you would want to put your engagement, you would want to put your numbers in. But as a stylist and a writer, I think you probably don't need to do that at this stage. If you're wanting to do a lot more online, then yeah, obviously a client is going to want to know that, but they'll probably ask that. I wouldn't put it on my rate card for styling. I would just put, here's the links if you want to see how I can share the shoot we're on or something. And then at the bottom, I've got rate card pricing. So it says a different price for each element. So I have a price for prep and for styling. I actually do quite a lot of crafting, so I charge for crafts as well, and I just spell that out too. And then I charge travel, and I say what I charge for an assistant, because I think it's good for brands to know that you expect to pay your assistants a decent rate. And then at the very bottom, I've got my email and my phone number and my website. So you can share your blogs, your websites, whatever information you think will be most relevant to the person you're going to be sending it to. And also, once you've done your rate card, I have pretty much got one that I send out all the time, but you can always go in and amend it for different clients. If you have different needs, or maybe it's TV commercial work and you can charge double, you might go in and do that. Or even just create 2 or 3 that have the right pricing for each one, and then make sure you send out the right one. The last thing, well, there's 2 last things actually. The last thing to include information on is things that the client needs to know. So if you don't do half days, I don't do half days in general, because what can you do with that other half a day? It's not like you're going to get more work. So I just don't do half days. I might do a reduced full day rate if it's just half a day's work, but I kind of put in there, I don't do half days. I put that if I'm going to be paying out expenses, I will need an advance. And in fact, let me see how I word it. I said, NB, please note, I will require an advance for any props budget before I can start propping. By booking me, it is assumed that you agree to this. Thank you. Because I think people really need to know from the outset that if you're going to pay out more than a couple of £100, then you really should be asking for an advance. And the last element is images. So my card is my favourite image from a talking table shoot that was in a warehouse. I may have mentioned a million times that I want to live in a warehouse. So this was just my favourite shot. I created the image as a background, and then I made it very transparent. So it's a very subtle thing. You can see what it is, but it's not too distracting. But you might find you want to put images on there. You might want to have like a little row of images at the bottom that show different types of work that you've done. Obviously, we're in a very visual industry. And if you're a writer, you might want to just show a row of magazine covers that you've worked on, or just images of news pages or kitchen features or whatever you specialise in. But there's a lot of information to get on one page. That's another thing. It should just be one page. It's like a CV, never more than a page, because people want to look at it and get the information immediately. So I use Canva, mainly because I don't know how to use Photoshop. I don't have Photoshop. And actually, when I wrote the blog post, I've done a little run, like a step-by-step tutorial of how I do mine. So if you want to look at that, you can check it out in the show notes, and the link will be to the blog post. I'm going to put both the blog post and the podcast show notes out at the same time. So they might duplicate a little bit, but just to make it really easy for you to find it. And also, so you can use Canva, you can use Photoshop, and you can also download templates. There are so many downloads. I've been looking at a lot. A lot of them are very much based on kind of the blogger media kits, because I think that's the closest thing to what we are looking to achieve here. And you just literally put your images in. They're very much about numbers of social media, so you can just whip that out and put different things in. And yeah, very easy. I'll find a few and link them through so you can have a look at them. But I personally find it much easier to move things around and make what I want on there to fit. And also, we're all very visual. I think we can all pretty much make it look beautiful, can't we? So what to charge? The best way to look at this is, if you are kind of just moving from assisting to styling, it's to speak to people you've worked with, do your research, see what other people in the same kind of area, the same experience have charged or are charging. It's vast. I mean, I remember a stylist messaged me privately through the Facebook group and said, I've been asked to do this job. I normally would charge XYZ, but I think I might ask for a lot less. But what do you think? And I thought, oh my God, I'd never charged that much in my life. And it made me think I'm not charging enough. And I think you have to be very comfortable with what you charge. I am comfortable with my rates. So yeah, that's something you really need to keep in mind, is be comfortable with what you're charging. When you send your rate card out, you want to have the strength to know that that is what you're worth. At the same time, don't undercharge yourself. So what to charge? This is very much a personal thing. You know what you charge. If you're an experienced stylist, you probably have a rate already. If you're an assistant coming in and you don't know, then usually people have really good relationships with people they've worked with. Assistants can ask stylists they've worked with. People aren't always very keen to share their pricing, but I think it's the only way to find out, because if people start undercharging, it will mean everyone will end up not getting the full fee. So make sure you're charging the right amount. And find people who are doing the same job as you, and just find out what the going rate is really. When you're putting details on this rate card, remember the extras like travel, hotels, if you're going to do extra prep, if you're going to do overtime. Sometimes jobs can go on for hours, and if you've been booked for a day and you've done your kind of 10 till 6 and then it goes on till 10 at night, do you charge extra? Will they pay extra? I mean, commercial shoots, quite often they will, but if you've got it on a rate card and they know, I mean, it's almost like a little mini contract, isn't it? Just, this is what I charge, here are my conditions, sort of thing. And then, as I mentioned earlier, advances for props. It's a really good idea to put it out. Since I've had this rate card and I have put this, I only buy props once I've got an advance, it's worked really well for me. I kind of don't have to broach the subject, it's already there. And if someone confirms, I will drop an email and say, just confirming that you saw that I'll need an advance. And I'm not sure if I've mentioned this before or not, but I have had a client 2 times now actually who said it was a very last minute job and I needed to spend about £1,000, and I said, look, we're not going to have time to get the money. I will cover this if you pay me within 7 days. And they did twice, 2 different companies. So that was brilliant. I loved that. Be flexible. You kind of know when a client hasn't got a huge budget and you're sending a rate card in and it sounds tons. If I think it's going to be way out of their budget, I'll say, well, this is my rate card. Let's talk. And then you can knock, I don't know, however much off that you're comfortable with. Like I've done a job before where I really wanted to work with someone, so I did it for a much lesser fee than I ordinarily would have. But I took that on my own, I took it on my own back because actually I really wanted to do that work. It's the way you word it, I think. You have to be flexible. And also some people just don't have the budgets, but they really want a proper stylist. Will they have a budget later on? Is it worth getting in with that client and moving forward? I'm definitely not saying work for free. I'm just saying be flexible. And kind of leading on from that, be confident and comfortable talking about money. I think we come from a very creative industry and the money side of things can make us feel a bit icky. And there's no need for that. We are businesswomen, businessmen. We are people who are being, purchased. We are being hired to do a job that we are more than capable of doing, and we're worth the money that they're paying. So just remember that. So that's all I've got really. I hope that's really useful. Again, I've mentioned Canva quite a few times just because it's just so easy to use, and you can just move things around on a page and they stay put and you can layer them up. It's just super easy. So I will put links through in the show notes for that. So I hope this was super useful. I hope everyone feels confident about creating a rate card. I mean, even if you haven't got a lot of experience, it's just that not sending one line in an email, here's what I charge. It looks very professional. So like you've thought it through, you're taking your business seriously. Anyway, I hope that answers all the questions that I've had recently about rate cards. Feel free to drop me a line, comment in the show notes or on the blog or in the Facebook groups. And if you've got any other questions or if you have any other thoughts on it, it'd be really good to start a conversation about this. And good luck with getting your rate card sorted. Speak soon. Bye now. Thanks for listening to the Inside Stylist podcast. You'll find all the details from today's show over on the website insidestylist.com. If you enjoyed the show, I'd love it if you would go over to iTunes and rate and review it. It's the best way to help other people find the show, and I would really appreciate it. Until next time, bye for now.